So Alfie, it's good to get back with you, man, so we can continue our conversation.
Yes, sir.
So now, where I want to go with you is, like, post Teddy Pendergrass, you start your own group, and you had mentioned that you have some original tunes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now, bring me into, let's say, the early 90s.
Okay.
Tell me what the music scene was going on with you at that time here in Philadelphia.
Well, at that time we were doing a lot of things. I was working with a musician named Byard Lancaster,
Mm-hmm.
who multi-saxophonist and what have you. And through Byard, we did stuff. We did a week at the Ocho Rios Jazz Festival in Jamaica, representing the city of Philadelphia, and also we did a week in Salvador Bahia, Brazil, representing the city of Philadelphia, which was Salvador Bahia at that time was sister city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Culturally, the cultural arts program stuff. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, and we was doing R&B, we was doing so-called jazz. I mean, you know, the scene in Philly, because there was a lot of people who, you know, there were some musicians who did both things.
Right, exactly.
Well, let's
Right.
say for an example, Christian McBride's father,
Right.
okay, Lee Smith. See, I met Lee in '74 at the Latin Casino in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He was working with Billy Paul then. He's playing electric bass, but he's a cat that plays straight ahead, so-called upright bass, and he plays electric. He plays R&B.
Right, right.
I mean, Show Enough plays it.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
like touch on a little bit or somewhat, you know, like.
No, I understand.
Flatfoot, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the bass player Sugar Bear, Michael Sugar Bear Foreman was like that too. And Christian McBride's mother was telling me that Sugar Bear was one of Christian's influences on encouragements to go forth and play the bass.
Right.
And Sugar
Right.
Bear turned me out into the R&B Philly scene. Told me what the groove was, what the pocket was. How to stay. Don't be stepping on other people's grooves and playing other people's.
Right.
You know.
Explain that a little bit more, though,
Okay.
from a technical point of view. Explain that being in pocket. Explain that in depth a little bit for me, Alfie.
Well, I could just illustrate it more so on the keyboard, but it's like so like the bass, the drummer plays doom chicka doom chick, it's holding the pocket. So if like say for an example, when you have chordal instruments like guitars and pianos, when they play together, one has to. It flows better when say if I'm playing piano, I'm just playing chords, bling 2 3 4 bling or whatever, or the guitar is playing bling, and so like we're not playing the same rhythmic boom bing 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 boom boom at the same time, so it won't be jumbled up.
Exactly.
So it's like
exactly.
each instrument stands out and it percolates and it supports each other.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And then sometimes one instrument is leading and others following.
Right.
It's just like dancing, partner dancing.
Right.
Okay.
It's like the syncopation.
Syncopation.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's
Now, which can happen with different instruments. Be horns like
Right.
ba-doo, 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 ba-doo. Like this here, Cannibal Adderley, ba-doo, call and response.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
part of that whole African thing. You know?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Now, also, I work with Archie Shep,
Yeah.
and Archie Shep, at one point, he was, when we had Ouch, he came to one of our rehearsals, and it was funny because he had his horn, he didn't have his horn strap. So, I think he borrowed a necktie from me and put it on the horn. And he was playing with us, we doing R&B, and he was like, Jam, he said, so So sometime after that, I went to New York hanging with him at the Beacon Theater, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah.
And Lester Boogie was playing there. Jimmy Murray played with Bull Moose Jackson.
That's right. That's right.
Jimmy
That's
was
right.
one of the first cats to play electric bass.
Bass, exactly.
Upright and peg.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I was blessed to work with Jimmy. Jimmy's hired me, and I've hired Jimmy.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
some reason, we hired each other. You know, I worked with Hank Mobley.
Right.
You know, I was able to hire Hank, and we played together.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Hank Mobley because we were just on the phone with George V. Johnson,
Yes.
and George must have written lyrics to over 50 of Hank Mobley's tunes.
Mm-hmm.
And but the thing I want to get back with you, Alfie, is to talk about how the industry, the music industry, categorized music so much that it almost paralyzes a lot of younger musicians from trying different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like when you said, you know, music is just music, you know, and no matter what style you play, you gotta be proficient in it. You gotta be good at it.
Music.
Exactly.
No, there's another one, non-music.
Exactly. So I subscribe to what Max Roach says. He doesn't like the term jazz.
Mm-hmm.
It's America's classical music.
Social music.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. So I like that definition.
I say that sometimes.
Yeah.
I say jazz, but I've heard
No, I
people
understand.
say, I heard Bird say jazz, and then other people say it.
Exactly.
But, hey.
Exactly. But I think that the one thing about Philadelphia, it's a really a melting pot of all kinds of music, and all kinds of very, very good music. I mean, this is the birthplace.
Development center.
Absolutely. A melting pot.
Disney
Exactly.
came here,
Absolutely.
Train came here.
Yeah. Even the young neo soul artists originate here in Philadelphia.
The Black Lily.
Exactly.
Like Roots and all them, and
That's right.
Jill Scott, those folks.
There you go. There you go. That's right.
And one of my spiritual goddaughters used to be the MC down there, River Parker.
Really?
She's down in New Orleans now, but she was like the MC with them. And then also I was blessed to work with Will Smith's father.
Yeah.
Will Smith's father, Will Smith Sr., I met him through my cousin, a guy named Donald Welsh, who's a playwright.
Yeah.
And, he gave a party, 50th birthday party, 60th birthday party for Will Smith's father.
Yeah.
And in Philadelphia. And he had me play there. One day he said, you know what? I'm going to start a record label, and I want you to be my first artist. Only thing, I want you to do all original stuff. Original material. So we cut an album called Alfie.
Wow. Okay. John Coltrane's
cousin Mary Alexander, she, I met her at WRTI Studios.
Mm-hmm.
I went one night, I used to go there sometimes, just pop in and see the DJs. And Harrison Ridley Jr., the late Harrison Ridley Jr. was on his show. And Cousin Mary was there. And so he introduced me to Cousin Mary and Steve Davis. And so I kept in touch with her, and then she started the John W. Coltrane Cultural Society.
Right.
Out of the John Coltrane house. And then she used to give these backyard concerts, and she would hire like some older musicians, my age and people older than me, and Jimmy Oliver and different people, Sam Reed, Brucey Barnes, and then she would hire some of the young people like Jaleel Shaw and Jonathan Blake and Daoud El-Bakara and Richard Hill and Messiah Harley, who was Harley's jazz, so-called jazz bagpipe player.
Yeah.
Son would hire musicians, and we would hire the young cats. You know them, like they would be. Some people would hire them, not really hire them. They could really play.
Right.
They played like adults. Matter of fact, I was blessed to hook Jalil and Daoud up to play with Art Blakey.
Yeah.
At the Uptown Theater. And it was a festival called African American Festival. they sat in with Art Blakey, you know, which was, and they were like 8 or 9 or 10. something like that.
Incredible.
But they was playing, and Art loved their playing because they was like into the thing, as we said.
Yeah.
With the music, and so they was showing up musicians, and then I would hire them and pay them the same thing I pay an adult.
Right.
You know,
Right.
to encourage
Right.
them because they playing, they doing the work.
Yeah.
You know? But,
Yeah.
And so Cousin Mary would hire them. Then, so Cousin Mary, we became really good friends, and so she knew I was a dancer, so she came to a dance class we were doing right near with Coltrane house, and you know she's watching the dance class, and then you know she asked me, "Can you teach me how to do the bop?"
Wow.
I said, yes, I was teaching her one day how to do the bop in the Coltrane house, you know. The house, that house, Cousin Mary sold both houses.
Yeah.
To Norman Gadsden.
Right.
Norman did a lot of things in the house. He did a lot of repairs in there, so. But he became ill. Before he became ill, there was a fire in the house.
Yeah.
The house
Yeah.
that has the picture on it.
Right.
Okay, and so then he made transition.
Yeah.
Then his wife Lenora inherited the house, or you know,
Right.
running the house.
Right.
She started an organization. I was her musical director and
yeah.
helper, volunteer helper with both of them.
Yeah.
And then we did another one of those with Cousin Mary when she had the Coltrane Society. We did that picture day in Philadelphia,
Right.
John Coltrane house.
Exactly.
You know, we did that picture, and then Lenore did another one under Mayor Nutter's administration.
Right.
You know, and not with the musicians who were around at that time.
Yeah.
And her daughter Hathor is the person that Norman left the house to. Remiss if I didn't mention Norman Gadsden's brother, Leo Gadsden. Leo Gadsden has been a promoter. He has a group called the Promoters Guild, and they've been giving so-called jazz concerts since the 70s.
Yeah. Right here in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, they had Jackie McLean, they had Farrell, they had so many famous people, man.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, and still, he had Freddie Hubbard, they had Woody Shaw, and and he's I would say the longest time promoter of concerts in that genre in this area all that time, and he is one who has a passion for the home, and he knows the musicians and all that. So he is you know, wants the best for the house, and we are all volunteers at this point to help out as best as we can to keep that legacy going. Because my first time I went to that house, Earl and Carl Grubbs took me there.
Yeah.
I used to shed over their house. You know, they said, well, Uncle Johnny showed us these songs. He showed us this song called Giant Steps.
Yeah.
Okay? This is back in the 50s, the late 50s, or
Right.
60s. So Earl and Carl Grubbs, you know, they were saying, Uncle Johnny, he's in town, he's over the house, his mother's house over on 33rd Street. And we're going to go see him. You want to go? I said, yeah. So we went over there. I met Train. Train was walking around the house. He had his horn. He had on a bathrobe and stuff. You know, maybe greeted, nodded his head, and, you know, how you doing?
Yeah. He was always real quiet.
Yeah, quiet. He was consumed by music.
Yeah.
I would say. McCoy, too. McCoy the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So I met him over there, and cousin and his mother, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, we would go down to Pep's in the Showboat, Pep's Musical Bar, Broad South,
Right.
and the Showboat Lounge at Broad Lumber, right near each other downtown South Philly, and go see Train.
Yeah.
We Alan Nelson, the drummer, Norman Connors, Billy Paul, Gerald Roberts. A bunch of us used to go and see Train faithfully. We was like disciples of Train of the
That's
classical
incredible.
quartet. One time I went there and I was blessed to see Train play at the Showboat, and Eric Dolphy came and sat in. They did my favorite thing.
That must have been
You know,
amazing.
and I've seen Train so many times.
Really?
Showboat, Peps, caught him at Birdland. One time when he had, when Elvin had been incarcerated,
Right.
and Train had different drummers at different times.
Yeah.
Tony Williams might work with Clifford Jarvis.
Right.
I caught him with Philly Joe.
With Philly Joe,
at
yeah.
Birdland, you know. And then Train came in Philly. A few weeks after that, he had Roy Haynes with him.
Yeah.
So we were treated to.
Roy Haynes' birthday was just the other day. Incredible.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Lord. His son Craig is one of my homies.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and Craig used to stay at the Coltrane house. Like, Craig was kind of like a, you know, family member.
But Alfie, I want to, I'm a volunteer for the John and Alice Coltrane home out on Long Island.
Yes.
And I want you to tell some stories for all the volunteers, because you knew John Coltrane, you heard him play many, many times, and give me some real rich John Coltrane anecdotes, some really stories so I can share with the other volunteers at the home.
Okay, well,
Like, give me the first time you met him.
first time I met him?
Yes.
At the Coltrane house.
Right.
And then the second time I saw him, I caught him at Pep's, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then I was moved to buy him a fruit drink, because I know he didn't drink. I heard he didn't drink.
Right.
So I bought him a fruit punch, you know.
So what was your impressions the first time you heard him play? What was
Well, see,
what was that like?
I heard like Milestones and the Kind of Blue album and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he just had his own sound, his own way of everything, his own genre.
Right, exactly. He carved his own lane.
And he exhausted music systems.
Yeah.
McCoy was the same way, and Elvin, far as polyrhythmically, rhythmically.
Right.
And Garrison, he just blended in, played all the right stuff. They was like 1-4.
Yeah.
What? I don't know how many legs, 8 leg, 8 arm, 4 head, same guy. Musically, a musical genius in composite.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was so spiritual, and see, like during that time, you know, a lot of us were dabbling with substances.
Right.
So we were coming, the music brought, I know me personally, through that time, man.
Right.
And I was, as Malcolm said, narcotizing myself, you know? And I was narcotizing myself.
Yeah.
And through that, the light, if you will, salvation came from Train's music that, you know, it was like church. It was going to church.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
like, we disciples, and we were disciples of Train's and their music, you know. We couldn't wait to see him, you know. Right. And I remember one time when he came in with Roy Haynes, Train was driving the blue Chrysler station wagon.
Yeah.
And he had Roy Haynes and Roy's drums, and I think he might have Garrison and his bass. They were riding together, and Train was helping them carry drums. He said, we couldn't believe it. Like, Train was God is actually carrying this drum, man, what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But we would, you know, like say Miles's Mode, which also is called Red Planet, the song.
Right.
There's a guy named Walt Robinson and myself. Walt sat in with Train one time at the half note.
Right.
Him, a guy named Bernard Cook, and a guy named Rick Henderson. They sat in with Train. But so Walt and I, we played on a record player. We played Miles's Mode 16 2/3, real slow, to try to figure out the melody over and over and over, so we were able to pick it out.
Yeah.
That's before you had these real books and stuff transcribed. And,
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
some of the transcribed stuff is great, but then some people they be like in some of the real book stuff they be like skating, they be leaving stuff out. It became an album. Coltrane's last gig in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It was at the Mitten Hall at Temple University.
And that was John Coltrane's last performance here in Philadelphia?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was blessed to be there, you know.
Yeah.
And but Train, you know, at certain times, a lot of people didn't understand what Train was playing, so they would boycott Train. They
Yeah.
wouldn't come out.
Yeah.
But so us diehards, we was there through it all.
Right.
You know?
Incredible. Alfie, man, it was such a pleasure being here with you. There's not too many people
Leo
alive.
Basson he's a great musician, and we are disciples of Coltrane,
Right.
and we are fans of Coltrane and the legacy and all the music and the medicinal medicine that John and all his people have dispensed for the whole planet, for healing and peace and love and peace and happiness for every man and woman, or woman and man. Put the woman first this time. Okay?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
And children.
But Alfie, thank you so very much. But before I leave you,
All right.
we're gonna walk over to the piano,
Yeah.
and I want you to play a little something for me, so I could share it with folks who really love this music.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Alfie.
you. All right.